Welcome to Americana Quill, writer to writer. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend that likes to subscribe. Today, I'm fortunate to have a childhood friend that I consider a sister, as she considers me a brother. We grew up in the same town, but in different sections. She is an avid reader and lover of the show we are about to break down, which is Lovecraft Country. It is a television show that I heard about, but did not watch until she loved the writing and recommended that I do the same. After watching the first 2 episodes, I have to say she was right, and I asked her to do a podcast with me where we will break this down. Ladies and gentlemen, I welcome Jessie Crayton. How you doing?
Hi, thanks for letting me on.
No, thank you for doing this. I'm super glad that you decided to do this. I'm very appreciative, so thank you.
Thank you. I'm doing all right. 2021. It's all about the year of self-awareness and self-care and everything that you want to do for yourself. Just get out and do it,
Absolutely. So let's, for the viewers, just know that we try to do this episode and I messed up. So we're going to do this again. So episode 1, we're going to talk about the synopsis of Lovecraft Country, which is after arriving in Chicago, Korean War veteran Atticus Freeman discovers a letter from his missing father, Montrose, inviting him to discover his family legacy in Arkham, Massachusetts. Atticus, his uncle George, who writes a Green Book-style Black travel guide, and his friend Leti set off on a road trip to Devon County, Massachusetts. A group of murderous white men chases them out of the first town they stop in, but they escape thanks to the intervention of an unknown white woman who somehow causes the mob cars to flip over. Soon after, they encounter the racist sheriff of Devon County, Eustice Hunt, who is eager to enforce the county's sundown law. Just after sunset, the sheriff's deputies force the travelers into the woods with the intent to lynch them, but the entire group is attacked by vicious monsters called shoggoths. Atticus, George, and Leti fight their way out while the police officers perish. The shoggoths are called away by a whistle. In the morning, the trio stumbles out of the woods to find an enormous mansion where they are welcomed by a mysterious white man, William, who greets them warmly. So that's kind of the premise of the first episode. Sorry for my lack of reading. I usually read in my head, so sometimes reading out loud feels like a challenge.
You did better than I would have did.
So how did you feel about the first episode initially when you watched it before you started to recap it again?
When I first saw it, I was like, what the hell? What's going on? This is so good, but I have no idea what's going on. I didn't even think I would be interested in something like this. But for it to be like the first episode was really good and it made me want to come back the next episode. And like, I'm mad because it was so good the first time and now I can't remember what I said. I'm sorry.
No, don't be. It's, this happens in this business of podcasting, which you'll be having one of your own very soon. So I can't wait for us to talk about that in a little bit.
But the first episode, it definitely made me think, trying to figure out how to make everything come together in my head to understand it. But by the end of the episode, you got a clear understanding of how people lived in the Jim Crow times.
Right.
And
so
good.
Yeah. So for context for the viewers, the show starts off in like a time period of the 1950s. I want to say about 54 or 55, if I'm not mistaken. And it starts off with Atticus on a bus ride trying to head back to Chicago from, I guess, maybe his last tour of duty. I think he was coming from the South, coming back to the Midwest of Chicago. So he was on the back of a bus heading there when I guess the bus broke down and they had a little picnic truck pick up the white folks, but him and some older Black woman had to walk to their next destination to catch the next bus to head home. So instantly, they're already setting the tone of the era that they're living in, and then it's interesting because the older Black woman and Atticus, the protagonist, basically, their first conversation starts off about a book that deals with a Confederate soldier, and that Confederate soldier, I guess, Atticus is enjoying just a good read, but like the woman
Yep.
is like, why would you ever revere like even wanting to read a book that deals with a Confederate soldier as a hero? So I thought that was very deep and interesting because like even now when you think about it, for our viewer audience, we're actually filming this a few days after what happened on January 6th, which deals with like the Confederate flag being inside the state capitol, right? So it's like the whole idea of like wanting to protect the South is like the South lost when it comes to that type of dynamic. You know what I'm saying? So it's like her saying, "Why are you revering a loser?" Of them losing, you know, we're not a part. That's not what this is anymore. And then people want to still revere that and have a reverence for that by bringing that inside of the state capitol. I think it shows how ahead of the time the filming was, also of how far we have not gone yet, as far as from the past to now.
It doesn't seem like a lot has changed really. And it's sad to see it. You know, some people do have stories to tell, and when a book is written good, like Atticus said, and the story was good and it made him think and everything, like I understand that. It's more of, it's disrespectful
Yeah,
to America, because America's not one color, America's all colors. And the series and the first episode definitely was an eye-opener for someone in 2021 who's not really, who if you've seen the show and you're not really big on it, you know, it gives you some type of history.
right.
If you know, if you're not into it, it gives you a little bit of background of what went down in that era. And it's true what you said, it doesn't seem like a lot has changed, and it's, you know, we should have left the Confederate flag back there in the back. You
Right,
know?
but like just even that first opening scene is like, now that you think about what just happened a few days ago, even though this is going to be probably shown in like April, is like just seeing what was shown in that scene of the opening scene of how like how beautifully they put those words together to like relate that message about the Confederate flag. Not, you know, why would you even want to read a book of this soldier looking like a hero? And then like going to like the chaos that just took place. It's like, no, it's like, you know, that part was very poignant now, especially if you watch that TV show, if you saw what happened a few days ago.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to like bring that up just because like it just came to me that like it's like, wow, like that was like prolific writing and so profound that you wouldn't think much of it unless you like really think deeper than what they're writing on the surface, you know? So I just thought that was pretty interesting
I
to
think
bring
that's
up.
exactly why I wrote you about watching it, because I said that watching it made me think like everything we're going through like this year and the last couple of years, it doesn't seem like anything has changed all the way, especially when the Jim Crow happened in the 1950s and it's 2021.
Right.
And we're still going through this. And it goes back to Miss Tutt saying, if you don't learn from your history, you're going to repeat it.
Right. Very true.
And I think that's why I was so adamant about telling everybody to watch it, because you learn so much from storytelling and looking at something being told through someone else's eyes. And it was amazing. Like the first episode, usually pilot episodes are not good, and this pilot episode had me wondering, you know, asking for more and coming back next week, you know, so I could learn more about what was going on the series.
Right. No, I think it was it was phenomenal. Like there's no other ways to put it. It was a great series. It's one of those things that the pilot episode gives you just enough to like not being to want to watch more, but not enough where you like, I think I know everything. I don't need to watch anymore. I think I know the whole premise. It's over. Like you couldn't know which way this was going unless you might have read the book, which I didn't.
Yep, I didn't either. Not
So,
yet.
but now I want to read the book though. So I just found this to be super like that first episode, and then the whole idea of bringing Jackie Robinson being in it, like in the beginning of his dream of like the whole episode happening. It was a lot of things that were like,
they didn't have a lot of role models back then.
Right. So like for him to be like the big hero. It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a big significance in the episode that you'll eventually see during the whole series.
Right.
Is that's how like important role models are, especially when it comes to storytelling
Mhm.
and making sure that something is being understood the right way. Um, but also trying to think of what I wanted to say. Just seeing how they put everything together and how you started off here and then with the opening scene and how he was, they wouldn't allow him on the bus even though he fought for the country. He was a soldier, he was a veteran. We were taught growing up to respect veterans, and for them, just because of the color of his skin, they didn't let him get on the bus. And then by the end of the episode, they went through a whole nother thing of injustice, which it just that carried through
Right.
the whole episode. And it was something that made me want to come back next week and watch it.
Right. So for more context for the viewers, the first episode is basically them just traveling pretty much from Chicago to Massachusetts to try to find Atticus' father Montrose, who's played by can't get his name out. I know his last name is Williams. Omar. He played Omar in The Wire. I don't know why I can't get his real name out.
Michael K. Williams.
Michael K. Williams. Yes. So Michael K. plays Montrose, but that's not here nor there because I don't think he comes until late episode 2 or episode 3. But episode 1, basically, there's a letter, if I'm not mistaken, right? And then from that letter, they find out, he willingly went into a car with a white woman, which makes Atticus be like, he would never do something like that. Like, we got to go find him kind of thing.
Especially because they didn't talk in so long.
Right. So that next morning, basically, they mapped out from the Green Guidebook or something like that. His uncle George basically published with like a Green Guidebook to get blacks from like different areas of the country safely. So from doing that, they found out the ways to travel and they mapped out how to get there, and that's what they decided to do. And as they had to do that, his friend Leti, who's played by Journey Smollett, comes along with the ride for whatever her reasons are to get away from Chicago and away from her sister and some of the things that she's neglecting to be a part of her from her past, of like her mother passing and not going to the funeral. So she's just doing things that a family member you don't expect to do is what she's doing, and just like moving forward without thinking about no one else. She's kind of right now involved, self-absorbed in her own world, in my opinion.
Yep, it's true.
So from kind of what we discussed and then a little bit more, what was your favorite scene from episode 1?
My favorite scene is the opening scene and the closing scene. Just as the significance of those scenes, like they set the tone for the whole series.
So the beginning scene was the scene I spoke about of them being on the bus after he woke up from his dream of like Jackie Robinson slaying a whole bunch of random monsters away from them.
Yeah. Well, that part.
And then and then the second scene, and then the ending scene is what exactly
the ending scene is when they encounter a white police officer on a road that
when they get chopped up.
Yeah, they encounter a police officer and the police officer says, it's sundown, you need to get home. And I guess their home was probably about 15 minutes away, and it was giving them a solution that wasn't going to have a positive outcome.
Right. He basically hoodwinked them from like, he sent them in the wrong direction to get away to other cops. Instead, he said, well, you got 10 minutes to get out of here. Yeah. And they thought they were leaving when he asked where's north at, or wherever the direction he asked for. He told them it's this way. And he basically guided them to get lynched from the sundown law because there was cops waiting by the bridge waiting for them to get there. So although they
didn't really work out for them.
Right. Absolutely. So that was also my favorite scene, if I'm not mistaken, was my favorite scene was after they had to deal with the white cop during sundown. The law was, because I never heard of that law ever. And then like to see it, I'm sure it existed. I don't think that was like necessarily such a fictional thing, because I could believe that,
Oh no, I believe that it's true.
Yeah. So like just them having laws of like if you're out at night and you're black, you're allowed to get lynched in certain counties and towns. It's just, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's sad that, you know, people had to go through that back then.
Right. It's not go to jail or get arrested. It's you get to get hung kind of thing. And it's
Yeah.
crazy. And so after them trying to get hoodwinked, it's when the shoggoths or whatever they call them, those monsters, came out at night in the woods where they were trying to hang them. And that's when they all run to a cabin. But from Uncle George being such an avid reader of different books, I think in one of the books he read, it was about it was the same type of monster, and he explained to them, I think they're scared of light. So when you put light there, like it will keep them away or whatever. And it just shows the reverence of what's done in the dark will always come to light. So those cops trying to do something in such a dark, shady place as in the woods to like hang someone, but them knowing that, you know, that stuff will reveal itself eventually. Like it's like, I don't know, it's how to say it more or less, but it's more of the metaphors in it. I thought was amazing of like the light of being like, you know, what happens in the dark comes to the light kind of thing, and then them just using the light to get away as far as Leti, George, and Atticus compared to the cops who are trying to do something so vicious and monstrous in the dark are the ones that actually got killed during that.
Because the dark consumes, you know,
right.
The dark consumes, and the light, like the light within, like, you know,
right.
It helps shine through and it helps keep the darkness away.
Right. And something of light is knowledge, right? Which Uncle George had basically of reading his favorite little fiction books, right? So like that gave him the light to say, yo, we gotta run to the car and turn on those lights to get us out of here.
Light is knowledge. Well, knowledge is light.
Right. But like, just putting that all together now is like, it gets deeper the more and more you really think to lay it out. And it's not like you're smoking weed to make a deeper connection. It's like, no, it's all here. It's just more of, can you grasp it? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like,
it's true.
So yeah, so that's kind of, I thought was pretty cool now that I think about that for sure. So I guess my next question is, who had your favorite performance of the episode and why? For episode 1.
For episode 1, I'm trying to think. I'm gonna have to go with Tick, because the whole episode, he was showing strength. He was showing how to hold himself as a man, what family's about, making sure you take care of your own, making sure that, you know, you do everything in your power to make sure that you take care of everything. Like sometimes in the books they don't make a good first pilot, and the way that they wrote this one, it was just his writing, his acting, and the way that he gave his all in the show, like it blew me away. And I don't really get blown away, you know, that often, but it left me speechless. And that's what you want to feel with a character. You know, you want to be like, wow, you're leaving me wanting more, but you satisfied me for the week.
Right.
Know? And just having to reenact that, especially stories that have been told, you know, and learning from what we learned in the past, like having to go through that, I could only imagine what he had to do to get into character.
Right. Absolutely.
And to give his all. And there's other parts in the episodes that, you know, I love, that you love too. But those are the things that spoke to me, and it set the tone for the whole series.
Yeah, I truly enjoyed Ruby, who's Leti's sister, because Ruby is a woman that I think has a lot of confidence, and although sometimes she lacks it because of what she's going through within the season, but in the very first episode, I just loved her kind of be the center of attention, singing for like her community and them all having a good time, and like it kind of showed me a way of what I think it used to be like before, like when survival was just about just like maybe getting home safe and that was enough for you compared to like what it is now. It's like we all need a certain amount of funds just to like really get more out of life compared to back then. And it really showed a true sense of community then, where like now it's like it's so survival outside of just racism that it's a lot of like things that you wish will come back kind of when you live in a community of just feeling love, being able to talk to one another. It just seemed very much cohesive the way that whole block party was, right? It was just so peaceful. It was just about them having a good time, not trying to stress nobody out. But then the cops come trying to mess it up, right? With like the whole fire hydrant. It's a hot summer day. They're just trying to cool off by keeping the hydrants on. And like the cop is just being like a total asshole about it, as if he's not hot himself, right? So
like
it's just,
he could have kept it moving.
Right. Like they weren't even bothering nobody. You just wanted to find something wrong.
Yeah. To me, they wouldn't be having to play, in the hydrants if you guys put something for them to play, a pool in their area, You can't take away something when they don't, you're not giving them the resources for it.
No, absolutely. So I just thought that was very, very interesting just to see that time capsule of the 1950s and like a block party of the community, all of them enjoying themselves. And Ruby kind of like, setting off the tone with her singing and stuff. So I just really enjoyed that whole moment. Because that was like the night before they decided to go on the trip. Yeah. So it's like this was like their last night of them all enjoying each other. And now when you think about it, it's the last time, what's his name, had a great night, the last time before he sees his daughter, George and stuff, which we'll reveal more outside of this episode. But, just like leaving your family to try to take these trips weren't easy. And like this just proved that, definitely, during that era.
Definitely enjoyed the first episode because it kind of introduced all of the characters and it didn't shorthand any of the introductions.
Right, yeah, it showed them all in life. The only one that we don't see yet is Atticus' father, but that's because they have to go get him. Right.
But when I tell you everybody, like I enjoyed every person that was on there. And everything that they brought to the table. Like it just was really good. Oh, what happened? Hold on, I am so sorry.
No worries. So, okay, I guess my next question is, what spoke to you most about episode 1? I know for me, it was like just the time period of the 1950s, then outside of like segregation and redlining, that they worked hard and continue to uphold like Chicago and showing the level of love and the sense of true community is what I love the most about the whole episode. And then like Dee giving her father like her little comic book. I guess they had a little ritual where she'll always create a comic book. So I thought that was pretty cool too, So like just like showing a doting father to his daughter and his loving wife before he goes out into the world, kind of like,
That's what family is making sure you give the right amount of love before you don't see them for a while.
Right.
And that's what I really enjoyed about it was the community feeling, like you said. Also learning, learning about what's going on in that era.
Right.
But also realizing that, I never would have thought I would have liked a series like this.
Yeah. Yeah, it was super, super unique, just the way they positioned everything. Like I'm super like in awe of how they did that.
Yeah, like it's like I said before, it's a secret society, sorcery, other worlds, ghosts, time travel, and a Jim Crow era, all in one series.
And they kind of show all of that in the first episode too, right?
Exactly. Like that's what I'm saying. Like usually podcasts aren't that great, and that that pilot was amazing.
Yeah.
It was well thought out. They must have took their time writing it and making sure to get it perfect. Because I feel like I haven't seen a series like that in a very long time where they made sure that everything was perfect.
Yeah, like everything was perfect. Everything kept you loopy, wondering what the hell's happening. Like there was a lot going on. But I'm sure if you read it, you probably would know more. But since I didn't read it, I was just really just entertained and just amazed by it.
Yeah. I told you I got the book, but I just got it late. So that will be the first thing that I read in 2021. But just if if the book is 10 times better than the series, I can't wait to eat it. I can't wait to dive in and divulge everything that I come to it.
No, of course.
Especially because on the book it says it's a New York bestseller. It's brilliantly executed. American demons exposed.
Yeah.
It's amazing. You know?
Not only is it amazing, you know what's also amazing to me is the whole episode basically is like, because in the letter he talked about Atticus having a birthright.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like him saying, you know, if this is my right, I gotta go see what it is. And my father decided to go out for it, for me to see, like, you know, make me go to do this kind of thing. So
yeah,
I think all of that was enticing. Right. But like just the whole idea of like a black person known as having a birthright from like his mother's side and not knowing really what that meant. Like, what rights do you have in America in the 50s if you're black? You know, so like
it's true.
Something that is solely considered, that should be considered yours and yours only, was like very deep and thought provoking for me. So just that whole premise was amazing.
Yeah, it spoke volumes just for like seeing it the first time and then watching it again after you were done with the series. Like,
yeah, it's like just the amazing layers that they had in just episode 1 alone. Like I said, the bus scene of Atticus reading about a Confederate, you know, soldier or whatever, or some fiction based somewhere, and then the woman not saying why would you do such a thing, and then just that foreshadowing what's happening now in our country, and then the whole darkness and light.
Yeah, even the bus scene is very like the fact of like the whole segregation on the buses and how those white people like sat in the front and mushed together like sardines in a can just because they didn't want to sit in that area. Like it's ignorance at its highest when people think that they're so smart, you know. And they got the writers, everyone in the show, they got everything down to a T, to with the scenery and how everything was portrayed back then in it.
No, absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's like I didn't realize it till like I sat down with you. Even more of the like the layers that if you peel them back, it just relates to a lot of stuff today. Like the whole monsters of, and then you know, being of the light compared to you trying to do something in darkness. Like a lot of some, not all, but a lot of the criminal system and just injustices is happening. It's like it comes out to light now because of cameras, but like just even the idea of like flashing a light at the monster, you know, like revealing itself, you know, it's like it's just so many places you can go if you want to dig deep in certain things, you know, like it's all very true, and it feels like it's in your face, but not really, because it's done in a sci-fi way. You know what I'm saying?
And the whole which we'll get into it in the next episode with the white people just wanting it for themselves, no sharing, you know, it's literally the world now, you know, and like it doesn't all belong to white people. You know, like it belongs to whoever has it and obtains it at that, you know, time.
At that moment.
You can't take away power. You can't take away what's theirs.
Right.
You know,
absolutely.
And that was the significance of the father going instead of Atticus, is because he didn't, you know,
or being forced to go because we're not really sure yet. Yeah. So what do you
go?
Right.
Sorry.
No, don't be. What do you think of the sci-fi moments of the first episode? Like, what was like one of your cool moments of the sci-fi-ness? Because I'm not a big sci-fi guy, but like for this, I enjoyed most of the sci-fi moments. So like, how did you feel about it?
I'm trying to think of a sci-fi movie that I saw that was a real sci-fi movie, because this is my first sci-fi series, and it made me think.
The closest thing may be Star Wars for me, to be honest.
Yeah, kind of. You know what I was gonna say? And it just because it had aliens in it, I was gonna say, what was the movie with Will Smith? Independence Day. But Day. Is that sci-fi technically? You know, it's aliens.
I guess it is, but like it's I guess anything that's not really possible, I guess, would be considered somewhat sci-fi, right?
Yeah, to me, I never was thinking that was going to be something that I enjoyed, but having it there, it definitely made the series a lot better.
Yeah.
Because of, you know, all the flashiness and, you know,
just the colors were so beautiful. Like my favorite sci-fi moment is when Jackie Robinson helps Tech basically beat up, I guess, the aliens with a bat, right? But like he has that memory because it was the dream of, like, I think his uncle and his brother and his father always told this story so many times that it kind of came back within this formative way of him of Jackie Robinson destroying these monsters and him being saved by it, which was very interesting.
I enjoyed when they were fighting. Like, I enjoyed the opening part of it, and then it went from like this to like this, and then you saw, like, you know, you saw soldiers fighting, you know, aliens. Then you saw, you know, an alien coming down from the, you know, from the sky, from the ship, and you're like, what is going on? What is going on? What does this signify? And you know, just to be confused, I guess it's okay to be confused, you know,
right,
to understand the story.
But but if you pay attention, it unpacks itself episode by episode, which I thought was super amazing. So is there anything else you would like to share for our audience before we cap episode 1? Oh, what do you rate it? I guess is one of my last questions.
I rated a 4.5, but almost a 5, because this is the highest rating I've ever given a pilot episode.
Yeah, I think for me this was definitely 4 stars, just because I thought it was shot well, it was filmed well, it was written well. Like, there was no missteps. It was more the only reason it's not a 5 is because they're still building it up. It wasn't like everything was already set on the table. This is it, and this is all that there is. Like, it was a slow build, but with a lot of intentions, which I really appreciated, because every character had their time on as being shown, right? They weren't like shortchanged, like you said previously when we were talking about this. So I just find all that to be interesting, and I know that wasn't easy to do. So I definitely applaud them, and I think for a pilot episode, for the first episode of the series, I don't think I'm going to get much lower than a 4, but yeah, this episode was definitely a 4 for me.
It was definitely a 4.5 for me, because it blew me away when I didn't have any expectations for the series.
Yeah.
You know, like, whew, it was crazy. Like, if you haven't seen it, definitely go see it, guys.
Yeah. For me, watching this, like, I watched the first 2 episodes with my wife, but that's where it ended for her. She wasn't feeling it after the second episode.
Yeah.
Who did you get to watch it with, and who in your household might have watched it with you? I guess is my question.
Basically, I watched it by myself at first, and then my husband like came in and started watching it with me. And we watch a lot of stuff together because that's my go-to person to watch things with. But I enjoyed it way more than he did.
Right.
And I don't even know if he finished it in a way.
Right.
But I tell everybody about it. And if quarantine wasn't happening, I would use my projector and throw a screening party for it, because everyone needs to watch this.
No, I would agree with that. And just, coming where we come from and seeing the racial divides because of like redlining and things like that. I just think you have such a unique perspective, since you lived in our neighborhood, right? Oh, you lived in what we consider our neighborhood. And you've seen Black people, you've seen white people, so I think you just have a unique perspective on life. So I really appreciate you even doing this with me.
I thank you for even giving me this shot. I'm excited, and I'm hoping that everybody enjoys my opinion of it and yours. And
no,
I hope
absolutely.
That it makes everybody watch it.
Yeah, no. This is like, even if you think we're being choppy about it, just watch the first episode and you can see why we're being choppy. It's just a lot going on, so it's not easy to pinpoint certain things.
Yeah.
But it was truly an enjoyable pilot episode, and just you putting me onto it, it was amazing, because it's like, I knew you felt this way, but for us to like display it for like everyone that's gonna watch this and listen to it, I'm just grateful that you even said yes to like us doing a little podcast series of this through my
I'm
podcast.
honored.
No, thank you. So I guess we'll wrap it here. This has been the first episode of me and Jessie covering Lovecraft Country on Americana Quill, Writer to Writer. Please like and subscribe and tell a friend. Goodbye, guys.
Bye, guys.